Hi, welcome to Cubs and Culture. I do this all the time, so I'm doing Oscar predictions. They're going to be in a few hours, so just so you know the conventions on this video, I'm going to put the category, then I'm going to list the movies in my order of preference of the nominees. So, Darkest Hour, I think is the weakest production design. Then Beauty and the Beast, then Dunkirk, then Blade Runner 2049, and then Shape of Water. So I want Shape of Water to win. Now, as far as my prediction is concerned, I believe Shape of Water has this category locked up because they won the BAFTA, and more importantly, they won the Art Directors Guild. And they usually, if you win the guild in this and you're nominated for Best Picture, you have a chance of that's pretty much a pretty solid lock. With that being said, I think the upset possibility is actually Beauty and the Beast, just throw a very popular movie a bone. But in any case, of course, I want the Shape of Water to win. It's an absolutely gorgeous movie, and production design is absolutely part of that. Okay, so I kind of wish some of the categories like animated feature would have sort of a flexible amount like Best Picture, because The Boss Baby is fucking terrible. I can't believe this movie has been nominated for an Oscar. It really doesn't belong there. It's not even a good movie. So obviously I think it's the worst of the nominees. Then Fernando, this one I like okay. It's just very much a kids movie. The next two, The Breadwinner and Loving Vincent, I really enjoy their sort of different sort of animation. But of course, my prediction in the movie I want to win is Coco, because again, they may well just call the animated feature the Pixar Award because they win every single year. Coco is actually, I think, their best, Pixar's best film, and I'm really glad that a partially Spanish language film is going to actually win this award, because about a third of the movie's in Spanish. So Coco's going to win. Okay, so there's like 4 categories where I have no real stake in it. Foreign language, one of them, is I'm unfortunately always seem to struggle to see these films. I think Fantastic Woman's going to win because it's about a trans woman. It's a Spanish language film. It sort of fits in with Coco and Shape of Water, because I think Del Toro is probably going to do well at the Oscars. So Fantastic Woman is my prediction here. Continuing now with ones I don't really have a stake in, I think Icarus is going to win Best Documentary Feature. My prediction is entirely... this category is the worst one to try to predict because the precursors never even agree on the nominations. So, like, Jane won the PGA for documentary, but Jane's not nominated. Here's the thing. This is one of the few cases I've ever seen where it was nominated across all the precursors. BAFTA, Globes, PGA, etc. So I think Icarus is going to be win based off of this. Again, this category is a pain in the ass because they never agreed, the precursors. Okay, see you in a moment. Okay, wrapping up the ones that I don't really have a stake in, also are very hard to predict, so it's basically random. For documentary, I think it's going to be Knife Skills because it seems pretentious enough, basically, for documentary short. So there's that, and then for a live action, I think The Silent Child, and then for animated, I think Negative Space. These are virtual. Basically, I read the plot descriptions, and these 3 seem the most like the other ones they have awarded in the past. The problem with the short films is, 1, I haven't seen any of them, but 2, so I'm relying entirely on secondhand accounts, but 2, there's no real precursors, so it's basically almost random. It's actually sort of the most interesting categories because of that, so those are my predictions for ones I don't have any stake in. Okay, see you in a sec. Okay, getting to score, which is one of the bellwethers for Best Picture. I would have preferred if Dunkirk, which I just think is not a very good movie, and the score doesn't help with it, it's just sort of blah, would have not been nominated. Likewise, The Last Jedi. It's The Last Jedi, I like the score, but it's not original. It's just John Williams playing around with Star Wars themes again, which is good. It's a good score. Star Wars is a good movie. I would prefer The Greatest Showman to be replaced, both of those. And then Three Billboards and Phantom Thread, both of them are very good. Pieces of music. I would have nominated them. I have them in the order. But of course, the score for Shape of Water is absolutely fantastic and memorizing and jazzy and emotional and everything like that. So Shape of Water, this is one of the awards it must win for it to have a chance at Best Picture. I think it is going to win score because it's won all the precursors, the BAFTA, the Golden Globes, and the Guild. So this is one of the ones I feel that the score is absolutely locked, and Shape of Water must win it if it's to win Best Picture. Continuing now with song, I fucking hate this category because quite often it's just a song tacked on at the end of the credits. I absolutely positively despise Call Me By Your Name. It's one of the worst love stories I have ever seen. It rings entirely false to me, so I would strip it of all its nominations with impunity, and I fucking hated this song. It was grating. It was supposed to be emotional, but it's not. Mudbound, its song was okay, but it's not really integrated into the text. Same way with Marshall. So I really don't like that this category exists because it's just sort of an excuse to have music at the end or a song over the credits 95% of the time. So my preference is always for songs that are integrated into the text of the movie. And so obviously that sort of favors musicals. So This Is Me and Remember Me from Coco are my two favorites from these songs. And I think This Is Me is going to win basically because it won the Golden Globe and it won some other precursors. And then they want to throw This Is Me The Greatest Showman a bone because it's been such a hugely successful movie. With that being said, Remember Me is a far better song because there's multiple versions of it in Coco. Integrated into the text, where it's actually the different versions of the text move the story along. So it's one of the best songs I have ever seen in a movie. Because of different versions of it moving the actual plot of the film, so it's deeply integrated into the text of the film. So I would not Remember Me. Also, it's just a fucking beautiful song. Okay. Turning to makeup now, this is one of the categories I wish Shape of Water was nominated in, though I would not have awarded it because of the issue, probably why it wasn't nominated. The creature's design is fantastic, but it's actually a combination of CGI and makeup, so it's not really either discipline, so that's probably why it wasn't nominated for makeup. With that being said, my prediction, and sort of the one of the nominees I want to see win, is The Darkest Hour, because Gary Oldman is absolutely looks like Winston Churchill in this, and it's sort of amazing on that regard. So I wish Shape of Water was nominated. I would replace Wonder with Shape of Water. But then Darkest Hour is going to win, which is the best of the nominees at least. Okay, and best of the year. Turning now to visual effects, I liked all these nominations. Again, I probably wouldn't have substituted Kong for Shape of Water, but again, there's a lot more extension work and sort of the effects in Shape of Water are all very, very well done. They're not obvious. I honestly could not pick out most of the CGI in the film. The thing is, there's just not a lot of it, so I understand why they wouldn't necessarily nominate it. With that being said, the first three, for my preference, Kong, Last Jedi, and Guardians of the Galaxy. The work is good. I'm just not particularly impressed with it because, like in Kong, none of the creatures are sort of emotional. And then for Last Jedi and Guardians, it's good work, but both companies have done that, like their sequels, and that sort of work I've been doing for years, and that's sort of my same sort of problem with Blade Runner as far as winning. It's good work, but by generally speaking, it's nothing really is groundbreaking in terms of its effects. So that's one of the reasons why I would prefer Shape of Water to be nominated over the first three, because while it isn't groundbreaking, I think it's much more emotionally involving. With that being said, War of the Planet of the Apes is probably going to win this award. The team has been nominated 3 times for the Apes movies. It basically swept the Visual Effects Society. It's emotionally involving work, so I think this is finally the year for this team. Okay. Okay, so doing the sound categories. Sound editing is the actual sounds you hear. The mix is the level of the different channels. So for sound editing, my preference would have been for Dunkirk to go away because I don't think it's a very good movie. And then also, this is actually sort of a good example of sort of the artistic choices because Last Jedi, because of that sequence where the sound goes away, and then also sort of the creature vocals in Shape of Water, why it's nominated. Now, I think in the end, Baby Driver is going to win this because it had a very strong showing at the BAFTA in this category, as well as the Guild Award. In any case, my preference is actually for Baby Driver. It's sort of like what I was talking about for Shape of Water. It's like the visual effects and makeup categories. Like the sound editing is very, very good, and the creature vocals are amazing. It's just not really an extensive work because it is mostly a drama. So I'm glad it's nominated, but it's not sort of the best of the year because the work is not extensive enough to warrant that sort of thing. Whereas Baby Driver is a much more intensive film technically for this category. So that's it. As far as the preferences, though, this category is something of a small bellwether. If Shape of Water wins, it does increase its chance of winning Best Picture because it means the guild people, the non-acting people, are sort of uniting behind the film. Okay, now going to editing. This is the single most important award, given how this race has played out for the night. If Shape of Water is going to win Best Picture, Three Billboards cannot win editing. Dunkirk, I would not remove. Three Billboards, it's a well-edited film, but it's not. There's nothing in this film that I think really sort of stands out for Billboards. And so it's just sort of like it's good work, but it's nothing really technically hard or sort of interesting about it. With all that being said, I, Tonya, very, very funny film. It won the Eddie, as did the Baby Driver won the BAFTA. So and it showed it had a strong support thing. So I think Baby Driver is going to win editing. But I want Shape of Water to win editing, and it's not because it's a well-cut film, and individual scene construction is great. But the thing is, there's a lot of times in which this is also in the screenplay, but there's a lot of very interesting compositional work. In this film, where you see sort of the home life of all the major characters and the contrasting and everything like that. Now, some of that is the screenplay, but also it's sort of the big choices of editing. This film does really well. So I think Baby Driver is going to win, but I would prefer Shape of Water to win. For Shape of Water to have a chance at Best Picture, though, Three Billboards cannot win this award. If Three Billboards wins this award, Shape of Water will not win Best Picture. Okay, returning to sound mixing. This one isn't that important. Sound mixing and sound editing often go together. So because of that, I think Baby Driver is going to win. Again, because of strong showing at the BAFTAs and the Guild Award. Dunkirk, again, I really don't like that movie. Star Wars and Blade Runner, again, so similar to the other technical visual effects. There's just nothing too different. Star Wars, I might have an outside chance of that because of that big moment when the sound completely goes away, because it's such a bold sort of choice, and it's sort of hard to do. I think ultimately, though, I favor Shape of Water because specifically there's two moments in the first act in which the mix had to be absolutely right. Because in the way in which the sound is actually telling the story at that point, that if the sound mix people did not do their jobs perfectly, the movie would not have worked on those two moments, because there's a sort of a fantastical element which is set up completely by the sound mix in the first act, and it had to be strong enough that you can, upon seeing it again, you see the setup, or subconsciously get the setup, but it's not so strong that it becomes obvious, and they nailed this. Okay, costume design this year is the easiest fucking category to predict, and probably because I'm saying that I'm going to get it wrong. But in any case, Phantom Thread's going to win. Phantom Thread's going to win with impunity, and this is also the main reason being it's about a dressmaker. So there's a ton of female costumes. Costume designers tend to prioritize dressmaking and feminine clothing over it. You'll notice that I actually have Shape of Water in the third slot. This is not that. Relatively speaking, the costumes they're gorgeous and they absolutely fit and they are good and everything. The thing is, this is the one sort of discipline where I think it was sort of the easiest sort of way of doing it. In any case, Phantom Thread's going to win. Beauty and the Beast has a sort of an outside shot because it also won, but Phantom Thread has basically won everything. And I'm pretty sure every single costume designer is just going to vote for it because it's sort of about a costume designer. And then which should overwhelm it. In any case, that's pretty much going to be it for the costumes. I like the costumes in Shape of Water. It's just the least sort of interesting part of the movie because of 1960 clothing. Easy to do. Okay, returning to cinematography. The other one that's really easy to predict this year. It's Blade Runner. Deakins has basically won everything. It feels like his year. He's been nominated like 10 times. Also, popular science fiction film, joined the genre of bone. I think Dunkirk's cinematography is actually one of the biggest problems in the movie because it makes it sort of emotionally inert, especially with those characters. Darkest Hours, good. It's just sort of obvious how it was doing it. Because it's the darkest hour, so it's kind of dark. Blade Runner, it's good work, but it's nowhere near Deakins' best stuff. It's kind of sad that this is probably the movie's going to win this Oscar. It's good, whatever. If it can't be The Shape of Water, which is what I want it to win, I want it to be Mudbound because Mudbound is a black woman who's the first time she's been nominated, or in fact, any black woman is nominated for this award. That being said, this is one of the awards I actually want Shape of Water to win the most because the cinematography actually carries a lot of the themes, sort of ironically. So, like Strickland's house is light and bubbly, even though it's a horrifying situation, whereas Elsa and Giles is sort of pretty, but sort of like dark, sort of darkish, as in like it's literally dark, even though it's supposed to be, even though it's a much more welcoming space. You kind of get the irony there. So, in terms of like artistic content, there's actually a lot of theme in the cinematography, besides just being pretty, which I think you should reward. If Shape of Water does manage to win this award, it's absolutely then going to win Best Picture because of the way in which the race has been playing out. Deakins is such a lock for Blade Runner that if he gets upset here, it shows a great swell of support for Shape of Water. Okay, so every single year at the Oscars, there seems to be one category where I just hate the nominations, and this year it turned out to be Adapted Screenplay. First up, The Disaster Artist is an absolutely shitty one-joke film that, as awful as The Room is, it doesn't deserve this sort of treatment. This movie is just mean-spirited garbage, and I greatly dislike it. Fortunately, I don't think it's going to win because of James Franco, and this is the movie's only nomination. Now, the next film, which I do think is going to win, is Call Me By Your Name, which is absolutely lacks all sort of tension. It rings incredibly false because no, the parents don't object, no sort of internalized homophobia or anything like that, and the age difference, while it's challenging, isn't inherently awful, but no one seems to care. And the other thing is, this seems to be playing into the stereotype that gay men are sort of sexual predators because of the 7-year age difference or whatever. So I really fucking hated this movie, and most of the problems are in the screenplay. But unfortunately, because of James Ivory going to finally get his Oscar with this movie, Molly's Game is okay. It's sort of Sorkin at his most Sorkin, though, so the characters is all sort of pricks or whatever. I just don't particularly like that. Logan's a good sort of comic book movie screenplay, and I'm glad it got its nomination. At least it's a good screenplay. But generally speaking, this movie should not be, like, this level of screenplay should not have been nominated. It's just a particularly weak category. Mudbound, I like this movie. I feel like the writing overall could have been tighter, but it's by far and away the best script in this category. Okay, so I think Call Me All Your Name's going to win. Unfortunately, it's a god-awful screenplay. Straightman, I know the screenwriter's great, but the novel author's Straightman, like the worst Gates love stories. It doesn't really bear on the the Best Picture winning race because of not really being that important in terms of nominations. Okay, so this is the next category, is the massive bellwether for Best Picture. If either Shape of Water or Three Billboards win it, then that film which wins will win Best Picture. It's imperative for Shape of Water that Three Billboards doesn't win this and vice versa. Okay, so Lady Bird is the weakest of the scripts. It's like Woody Allen light, which is sort of ironic because the writer-director of Lady Bird is campaigning against Woody Allen, but it's a slice of life film. It's fun. It's kind of a slice of life. It's okay. The Big Stick is also fairly fun and everything like that. Overall, it's just not a particularly deep screenplay or a deep movie. Three Billboards is a pretty good film. I ultimately like it. It's just, yeah, it doesn't... It's about sexual assault, and I feel like a bit like Moonlight last year, that sort of the social commentary that the film is dealing with is sort of making people... like, it's kind of well-timed, is what I'm trying to say. Solid screenplay, glad I got its nomination. Then, as far as Shape of Water, I do believe Shape of Water is the best original screenplay of the year. The thing is, the difference between it and Get Out is so slight. In terms of, it's only talking about the screenplay, not in terms of the movie. Shape of Water destroys Get Out as far as like every other aspect of filmmaking, but in terms of writing and just the screenplay, Get Out is just a hair behind Shape of Water. So because I really want Get Out to win something, I would want it to win screenplay. Now, fortunately, I think Get Out is going to win Best Original Screenplay because of it being such a sort of groundswell of critical support, and the screenplay is sort of the nomination which makes the most sense for it to get to honor the film as a whole, because it's also the director, which he's not winning Best Director. In any case, it did win the Guild Award, and so that's why I'm predicting Get Out. It's going to win Best Original Screenplay. Now, normally director would be the most important award for the Best Picture. The thing is, Best Picture and Best Director have been splitting far more often than it has over the course of the history. So, like, for like 12 Years a Slave didn't get director. Spotlight didn't get director, and even though Three Billboards that isn't nominated for director, Argo run recently without being nominated as director, so I don't think it's impossible for Three Billboards to win despite not being nominated, and so that's why it's not as critical for this. So with that being said, don't understand why Nolan's nominated. Lady Bird, again, it's sort of Woody Allen light. It's not that intensely shot or directed, but it's okay. Get Out, well put together horror film. I really liked it. It's just not exactly a power. The screenplay is better. The screenplay is the heart of that movie. As far as most of the sort of story, Phantom Thread, I love. Paul Thomas Anderson is very good. He made us care about a dressmaker, and the movie is sort of gorgeous. It's very well acted. So yeah, I really like him for this nomination. He's not going to get it though, because hopefully Guillermo del Toro will win Best Director for Shape of Water, which I obviously completely agree with. It's what I'm hoping for. This is the other one for Shape of Water that is basically a mortal lock. Del Toro has won the DGA. which is Directors Guild. It's the most faithful precursor. He won the BAFTA and the Golden Globe, even though Shape of Water did not. So I feel like this is his one to lose. So hopefully he does. Hopefully he doesn't. The supporting actress category is next, turning to the acting now. This one's always weird because you kind of don't want to. You kind of want an actress you like to win, but then they seem to disappear. I.e., Renee Zellweger after Cold Mountain. I think McCaff from Lady Bird's the one who's going to win, which is unfortunate because I think it's actually the weakest performance. It's just not that particularly interesting. Other than that, the rest of the category seems to be pretty solid. I want Bilge from Mudbound to win. She owns that movie. She's really powerful in it, and she seems to have sort of the most sort of heft in that movie. I really liked her performance. I could live with I, Tonya Janner winning it. I could also have Octavia Spencer from Shape of Water win. I think this category, given the sort of Phantom Thread is not going to win Best Picture. Three Billboards is probably going to win. Three Billboards is sort of the main competition, so it's not really all that important and predictive in terms of the Best Picture. Now, if Spencer does pick it up, I think that could be an indication that Shape of Water is going to have a good night. But I actually think supporting actor, which we're going to turn to in a second, is more important. So I think it's going to be McCaff from Lady Bird, but I want Bilge from Mudbound to win. Okay, give me a second. Okay, so the next category, supporting actor. For Best Picture, Three Billboards is going to win. Richard Jenkins cannot win for Shape of Water. It's exactly like for the editing, how for Shape of Water, three Billboards cannot win editing. Anyway, so first of all, Christopher Plummer in All the Money in the World, I would actually cut him out of this category. And this is a thank you nomination for taking over for Kevin Spacey, and sort of in response to the Me Too movement. He's good in the film, but Doug Jones as the creature in, or an amphibian man in Shape of Water, I would have made him the fifth one. And I would have put him fifth. It's a very solid performance, but it's mostly a physical performance. Deserves a nomination, doesn't deserve to, he only deserves a nomination. Willem Dafoe is Dafoe-ish in The Florida Project. He has better performances. I am kind of glad he's nominated. But he's generally okay. Now, I ultimately think Sam Rockwell is going to win this award because he's ultimately sort of the best. He's not the best. He's won a lot of the awards. The thing is, the reason why I'm saying it's such a bellwether is Woody Harrelson is also from Three Billboards, and most of the time they haven't been together. Or there's a way in which honoring Woody Harrelson, so there's a possibility of a vote split here, where I think if the passion for Three Billboards is not as strong as you think, because Rockwell is sort of the leading charge if you're going to vote for Three Billboards, there's a possibility of a vote split with Richard Jenkins winning for Giles for Shape of Water. So if Jenkins wins for supporting actor, I'm in for a very, very good night as far as Shape of Water is concerned. I think this is the other award that I would basically trade everything to see Jenkins win Best Supporting Actor, because I don't even think it's not only do I think it's the best supporting performance of the year for a male actor, I think it's the best acting performance, period, and this is one of my favorite characters of all time. Okay, turning to actress now. First of all, can we please, I want to lose gay points for saying this, but can we please stop nominating Meryl Streep just because she's in a fucking movie every year? She's nothing special in the post. It's a good performance because it's Meryl Streep. But god damn it, no, it's not an Oscar-worthy performance just because it's Meryl Streep. Okay, so I think Frances McDormand's going to win this, because this is sort of Three Billboards. strongest sort of case. It's one of the reasons why I think it has the best shot, as her performance has been incredibly well received. I'm not deeply impressed with it. It's not hard to gain sympathy for the mother of a rape victim. Okay, so like, it's a good performance, but nah, it's not that powerful. Lady Bird, Ronan, or however you say her last name, does well in the film. The movie works as well as it does. She has such a charming performance, and so I like that. Then Maggie Robbins, or whatever the name is, from I, Tonya, Robbie, does a good job playing a very unsympathetic character, but you end up sort of rooting for her in I, Tonya. And so that one reason I have her best. But of course, given, sort of my main theme here, I want Sally Hawkins to win. I think it's going to be Frances McDormand, but Sally Hawkins acts fucking circles around her. Because not only is she playing a mute character, so it's all about sort of body language and everything like that, but she uses ASL, American Sign Language, and it's completely naturalistic, and she's sort of a bright spirit. She's such a great performance. It should win. Okay, getting to actor, first of all, I would do away with Kamate, however you say his name, from Call Me By Your Name. He's badly miscast. He doesn't look 17. He looks younger than 17. So it makes the age difference even creepier as opposed to challenging. I don't think he does it. I absolutely hated that movie. And I don't think he did a very good job. I would put Michael Shannon as Strickland from Shape of Water in his place. Gary Oldman does a good Winston Churchill impression, and yes, it's a very accurate impression, but it's best acting, not like, this kind of goes back to my Laurence Olivier thing. It's a damn good impersonation, but it's not like, there's more to acting than just like accuracy to the person you're playing. Anyway. I think Gary Oldman's going to win because he's won basically everything else. This has the feeling of it being his year finally. Deeply respected actor. The Academy is way too overimpressed with impersonations. Phantom Thread, Daniel Day-Lewis is pretty good in it. Sort of drives the film. Washington, I like his performance a lot. The issue with it is he's won in the past, and it's pretty much the film's only nomination. It is the film's only nomination. So of the nominees, I would actually have, how do you say his name? The main actor in Get Out. It's an amazing sort of storytelling with during the sunken place scene where he's being hypnotized. It's such a good performance. With that being said, I think I would have nominated Michael Shannon and probably have him win, but again, the two performances are sort of close enough in my mind that I don't really care either way. Well, I do care. Get Out could get 2 Oscars. The performance, it's exactly like screenplay where they're so close to each other that it's like flip a coin. That's how good both performances are. And finally, turning to Best Picture, I really do want Shape of Water to win, but I think it's going to be 3 Billboards just because it being actor heavy. Anyway, let me just quickly do impressions. This movie's fucking terrible. Awful, false gay love story. Straight men, please don't write gay love stories. You're not good at it. The Post, like, god damn it, this is not an Oscar-winning movie. Just because it has Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep in it, and directed by Spielberg, doesn't need to be nominated. Why the fuck is it here? Dunkirk, I utterly dislike this movie. I've given a review of it. Anyway, those first 3 are not good movies. They're sort of, blah and kind of just stupid. Like, I don't understand why they're there. Darkest Hour, yeah, this movie's a good World War II drama. The thing is, again, I feel like World War II movies, like, they've been so overdone that there's really nothing to say about it that hasn't already been said. Lady Bird's a pretty fun movie. I like it. Again, it's sort of ironic that it's sort of Woody Allen-esque, despite the fact that the woman is so going after Woody Allen. Anyway, so 3 Billboards. This is a good movie. It would be a tolerable winner. in most years, but the disconnect between it and Shape of Water to me is just as sort of bad as Crash versus Brokeback Mountain. So let's hope that doesn't happen. It's just a kind of, it feels like a Lifetime movie to me. Three Billboards feels like a Lifetime movie to me. Phantom Thread, good Paul Thomas Anderson, very well crafted, kind of just sort of there, just sort of good. Doesn't stand out in this filmography. Get Out captures the zeitgeist around race a lot. Well acted, well strict, nothing you want to, no major problems. A good little horror film. Glad it was nominated, second best in the list. And then of course Shape of Water. I know I've picked Shape of Water for a lot of these things, but if it would win like director, supporting actor, and picture, I would be absolutely ecstatic. Or hell, if it even just wins for Jenkins, I would be ecstatic. So anyway, I feel like this has been like almost 40 minutes me talking about the Oscars. So thank you for listening. Cubs and Culture out.